So, Alex, what are ecosystem services?
Well, Bill, they're the services, they're the benefits that are provided to humans um, from an ecosystem. For example, the nitrogen cycle that's responsible for the nitrogen in our soil naturally that plants uptake is an ecosystem service. The carbon cycle is an ecosystem service. The soil itself, how it has been broken down and weathered by the ecosystem itself, that's an ecosystem service. And humans benefit from all of those things. And so, yeah, it's just a way to measure the benefits that like different natural processes have to humans.
Okay, so Alex, tell me about some of the players in any one of those services you just described: the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the breakdown of organic matter, the storage of carbon. Pick one group of workers in that.
Well, you want to know my favorite?
Yes.
My favorite are the insects.
Okay.
In that group, because insects have been overlooked, because a lot of the time people will just do a spray and pray. They will just spray, get rid of all of the insects, and then that leaves their crops open to pests, because pests are usually the first to come back, right? So if you use ecosystem services to establish a environment, an ecosystem that's friendly towards insects, you're going to have a lot of a diversity of insects that will have a balance. There will be a balance of pest predators versus pests, because naturally out in an ecosystem, there's a lot more pest predators than there are pests. So they keep the pest pressure down. So if you have a lot more pest predators than you do pests on your farm, if you've established that ecosystem, then a lot of the times you don't even have to spray, because the pest damage is below the economical threshold. So yeah, that's my favorite one. I've just loved insects my entire life, but that's my favorite go-to to be like, yeah, this is something that if you do it right, you can stop spraying pesticides. Essentially, I mean, it doesn't work in every single crop system, because that's unrealistic, but in a lot of places, like they do it in grapes, for example. That was one of the first systems that they used it in. Showed that, hey, this actually works, and we can continue making money and wine.
Right, and so that's on the crop protection side. Let's talk about crop nutrition.
Okay, yeah.
What are some of the players in that system?
A good example is cover crops, like legumes. In nature, there's not only legumes are nitrogen fixing. There's a bunch of other species of plants that fix nitrogen. But if we're talking on a farm standpoint, and you're talking about nutrition, you can use legumes as a cover crop, or even you can use cereal grain to uptake the nitrogen in the winter, so that you don't lose it throughout, because water will leach the nitrogen out, and keep your nitrogen, and then winter kill it, or kill it right before your next season, and then you'll have up to 50 to 100 pounds of plant usable nitrogen next season, so that you don't have to pay for that. That's a nutrient one.
So you've got a plant playing that role of in the ecological services, ecosystem services.
Yeah.
So you actually have a plant who's hosting nitrogen-fixing bacteria that's actually making your nitrogen, storing your nitrogen, putting it in a more complex form.
Yeah.
And you talk about insects, and they're actually mechanically protecting crops.
Mm-hmm.
What about what's going on in the soil with carbon and specifically microbes?
Yeah, that's a good. I was going to segue into that, because we're talking about nitrogen-fixing bacteria on the legumes roots. Well, there's also a whole bunch of nitrogen-fixing bacteria that fix atmospheric nitrogen. That's where most of your nitrogen in the soil comes from naturally. So there's that. Then you have fungi who break down organic matter, and they break it down into carbon and amino acids. And then you have phosphorus fixing bacteria, or that's the theory, phosphorus fixing bacteria. So, your microbes are your most important. That's like your powerhouse of the soil, because without microbes, fungi, and bacteria, your plants wouldn't really have a chance, because they can't break down the nutrients themselves, and the fungi, the endomycorrhizal fungi, bring those nutrients to the plant roots and help the plants communicate with each other, and help with drought stress and stuff. But yeah, no, the microbes are the most important, I would say, in the soil. Yeah.
Well, this whole concept, and tell me the name of it again.
Ecosystem services.
Ecosystem services. So, viewing all these different components,
Mm-hmm.
The biology side, the soil biology side, the above ground biology, growing plants, they all provide a service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they also all interact.
Yeah.
Directly and indirectly.
Yep. In an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for explaining ecosystem services.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking.